Nigeria's Niger Delta is a region filled with the lush grain of plants that serve as food for people and animals, and a source of revenue. The Niger Delta is blessed from splayed palm fronds and their ripened reddened seeds, the dirt-covered roots of the cassava plants, the yellowing pods of the cocoa plants, the poultry that produces millions of eggs every year, and to the bountiful fish that can be found in the region. Nigeria's almost complete dependence on crude oil as its source of revenue has led to the underdevelopment of the other value chains, especially the agricultural value chains of food and cash crops. And this lack of opportunities often triggered conflict. To mitigate these brewing issues, the Foundation for Partnership Initiatives in the Niger Delta, known as PIND, a Nigerian non-profit, was established in 2010 with initial funding from Chevron to promote peace and equitable economic growth in Nigeria's Niger Delta region. Today, we continue to forge multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholder partnerships at the regional, national, and international levels among local businesses, the government, and private sector corporations. PIND understood that stability and economic development were two prongs of the same issue, so we began to look at ways to sustainably impact the economy through agriculture.
When PIND came into the Niger Delta, we discovered that there was a lot of inefficiency among small and medium enterprises and the whole lot of actors in that, in the agri value chain, the agri sector.
From the study, we realized that despite the fact that there was huge opportunities in the sector, the knowledge level of farmers was low. There was poor extension services from the government, and there was little or no private sector consultants or service providers in the region.
PIND was undaunted. With further gap analysis, it became obvious that the focus needed to be on upgrading key market systems that the poorer populations depended on for their livelihood. Thus, PIND designed the Market Systems Development Project to support farmers and small enterprises in key agricultural sectors to improve their productivity, increase income, and reduce poverty. This would deliver shared benefits to all market actors: farmers, suppliers, retailers, contractors, manufacturers, associations, and institutions in a simple yet sustainable way. Accordingly, PIND adopted the market systems approach to pilot solutions that address the systemic constraints impeding growth in three key agricultural value chains of aquaculture or fisheries, cassava, and palm oil value chains. In the 1960s, Nigeria was the world's leading producer of palm oil. Though the country still remains one of the largest producers, it now meets domestic demand through imports. The Niger Delta accounts for roughly 57% of Nigerian palm oil production. Similarly, Nigeria is the largest cassava producer in the world, averaging an annual production of about 52 million metric tons over the last 5 years. And the aquaculture or fisheries sector is one of the most important sectors in Nigeria, employing 8.6 million people. These three sectors contribute to the livelihoods and the household food security of Nigeria's Niger Delta region. PIND conducted a value chain analysis of these sectors and identified several systemic constraints inhibiting growth in them. These constraints ranged from poor knowledge of best sector practices, weak linkages between market actors, lack of farmers' access to credit operating and expanding enterprises, low efficiency of processing equipment, and lack of commercial orientation of farmers and processors were also identified as inhibiting factors. Poor coordination between value chain actors, lack of access to new technology markets, inadequate and inaccessible government extension service. PIND, therefore, initiated the Value Chain Project to address these constraints, stimulate considerable growth, and improve the efficiency of the sectors.
The value chain approach is one method of effectively linking large numbers of small farmers or micro-enterprises into more competitive, growing and viable industries at the local, national and global level.
Many micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, faced challenges limiting their competitiveness, such as poor technical and business management skills, poor access to finance, weak access to large institutional buyers. With this understanding, PIND focused on improving the capacity of local MSMEs so they could grow their market and compete in domestic, regional, and global markets and contribute to wealth and job creation.
We're able to understand that it's not only funds that is the need of businesses. Businesses also need people to buy from them, people to patronize their services.
We've increased in the people patronizing us. And so if people are patronizing us, we are making money. I can tell you that if we were be able to have a kind of an income of maybe 100,000, tell you that we are having 500,000. You can just look at the margin I'm talking about.
With a successful demonstration of the viability of these models, PIND did another study, this time in the cocoa and poultry sectors, as they have growth potential and the ability to increase income and employment. As a result of poor quality, Nigerian cocoa beans are being sold at a discount price in the international market, resulting in low profitability. And in the poultry sector, the government imposed ban on poultry import raised the price of chicken meat and provided a strong window of opportunity for local production. Some of the constraints in these sectors were similar to those in the aquaculture, cassava and palm oil value chains. And like those sectors, PIND designed projects to increase local producers' competitiveness and enable local processors to upgrade quality and capacity to increase supply to sophisticated end markets. PIND didn't do all of these alone. Under a strategic partnership with USAID signed in February 2011, PIND and USAID implemented the Maximizing Agricultural Revenue and Key Enterprises in Targeted Sites Market 2 project from 2012 to 2017. Further partnered with the UK's FCDO-funded Market Development MADE project and a host of private companies and farming associations to improve the performance and incomes of the region's poor, rural smallholder farmers through private sector demand-driven market interventions, while simultaneously contributing to food security and poverty reduction. As a result of PIND's approach and partnerships in the last decade, a couple of groundbreaking successes have been recorded in the Niger Delta. $614,503 farmers and micro, small and medium enterprises were reached with information and services on agricultural and business best practices by PIND's Market Development Interventions, Market 2 and MADE projects. 396,454 of the reached smallholder farmers and MSMEs improved agricultural practices and adopted innovative, climate-smart technologies and earned a net increase in income of 23.7 billion naira. Over 55,000 new full-time jobs facilitated in PIND-supported sectors, with 17.9 billion naira in investments leveraged into the agriculture and enterprises sector for innovations and business growth. There is now a stable commercial supply chain for quality agricultural inputs and improved farming, harvesting, post-harvest, and processing technologies for farmers and processors in the market sector we work in. Smallholder farmers and MSMEs now have access to a functional service market to supply technical and business support services, quality inputs, and improved technologies on a fair and affordable commercial basis. The service market was weak and almost non-existent before our interventions. And over 2,600 service providers facilitated by PIND coordinated a joint market response to the 2020 pandemic threat that helped reduce the impact on the farmers and MSMEs.
In fact, a lot of farmers now call me Mr. Banker because I'm now a specialist on oil palm. I only had one shop in my headquarters, which is Edo State, and another shop in Akwa Ibom State, which is my branch. But after PIN, as I speak with you, we have 3 outlets in Edo State. My people are asking me to come back and teach them more. So I intend to expand in Akwa Ibom, 3 or more locations.
I think what is the real accomplishment that I see when I look back at what we've done is that we've created a very strong and capable development institution in the Niger Delta that didn't exist before. It's very unique.
PIN's model works. It has been shown to be demonstrable, adaptable, and sustainable. The next 10 years is about facilitating even more inclusive, sustainable, and diversified economy through the stimulation of technical and entrepreneurial systems that reduces poverty through market linkages, jobs facilitation, and income increase.
So the pressure is on us now how to service these farmers because my farmers base have increased. My customers' base has increased, and consequently, my revenue has increased. So I give kudos to PIN for at least making this happen to me.